Hi there folks, welcome to RRTV's live broadcast of the Selby Endurance Sports Car Championship. We're coming to you live tonight from Twin Ring Motegi for the Twin Ring Motegi 10 hour. And in the combox with me today is Mr. Tim Ballinger. Welcome back, Tim.
Thank you for having me, Bernie. Yeah, looking forward to this round of the Selby.com Endurance Championship here at Motegi. It's their first night race. I think their only night race for the series, and nice cold track conditions. We're looking forward to some quick lap times and some great racing.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely awesome. We've got the cars look fantastic under lights here for the night race, and Twin Ring Motegi is quite an interesting track at night. The main area is quite well lit, but the back area is not quite so well lit.
It's actually an interesting track. It's a very stop-start track, and you've got all the corners of slightly different shapes. Some close up on exit, others open up on exit, some close up on entry. So you've got to have a car that's going to stop-start, get down these straights, and like you said, the track's pretty well lit. The only area that does get a bit dark for the drivers is that last section near the pit entry there as you come back onto the main straight. It's a little bit dark in there and a bit hard to line it up. So other than that, it's a great track for racing on.
Yeah, it certainly is, and we're on board now with Craig Edwards. Of course, the way they qualify here, folks, is they bring out Class C. The Class C is now the new GTE cars. We've got two of those out there, one Ford, one Ferrari, so they're going to be interesting to see. And then second out was Class B, which is the GT3s, and then of course we've got the HPDs, which is Class A.
Yeah, well, we've got Class A on track now, so I think we're going to struggle with these new tyre models. They've got this builders. They just got to try and get some heat in the tyres. So instead of seeing them do a slow out lap and then hoof into it for one flying lap, you'll probably find that as soon as they leave the pits, they'll get onto it to get some heat into these tyres, and probably their third lap will be their quickest.
Yeah, and we also saw those just before we came on air. One of the cars, I think it was this car here, was Craig Edwards, caught one of those witch's hats under the front of his car, and it ended up spinning him into the wall. So I've heard that happening in the Skip Barbers, but that's the first time I've seen it in a HPD.
Yeah, it's exciting to see with iRacing. Every build they get these cars more realistic, and just having that stuck under there would have upset the aero, and yeah, just great to see them get more realism into these cars as we go along.
Yeah, it certainly is, that's for sure. We can see Daniel Benefield out there at the moment. He's sitting in second in class, and looking at his time, well, it'll be interesting to see what his time is, because the last one didn't count, but the target they're looking for is a 141.255.
Yeah, I see at the moment our quickest time in the HPDs are 1:37.2, so I guess that's the time they're chasing. So I think the big thing that surprised me probably from qualifying so far is there's only a second difference between the GT3 and the GTE cars. So I guess that's the stop-start nature of the track. GTEs don't have ABS, the GT3 cars do, and I guess they're making it up under brakes.
Yeah, the GT3s are phenomenal under brakes, so that's exactly where it would be. The other one could be the drivers are still getting used to those two cars, and from what I understand, the GT3s are pretty much based around the road cars. That's why you've got ABS and all that sort of thing, and any other driver assists, where the GTEs are more a racing car with no ABS and set up to be far more aggressive.
Yeah, I have actually driven both the new cars, the Ford and the Ferrari, and I find the Ferrari is probably more of a driver's car. It's a little bit twitchy. You seem to be doing a lot more when you're driving it. The Ford, you don't seem to have to do as much. And for me as a driver, I'm probably a second a lap quicker in the Ferrari than I am at the Ford at the moment, but I see in qualifying here they're only 0.2 apart. So it'd be interested to see how they go with tyre wear over a long stint.
Oh, it certainly will be, and it'll be interesting to see if any of them actually get to the end. Unfortunately, that class, I thought it would have been really well supported, but unfortunately what we've seen, similar to the Porsche, the drivers don't seem to that interested to run them at the moment.
I think there's a fair bit of interest in it. I know officially the races are now full every time, but I think we also have a V8 race on later on today for the V8 cops, so that I think if those two events don't clash later on, we may get a few more entries from the V8 sort of drivers who really enjoy the lack of ABS and chasing a car.
Yeah, well, that could be it as well, because I know a lot of teams, that's their premier series, and a lot of them would be putting in that effort to get the setups right and make sure they do well in that series.
Oh yeah, I mean they've gone so far into the year now. I think they're halfway through that series now. So to sort of back out now to concentrate on a different series would be a bit hard for them. So I'm expecting when the events don't clash, I'm expecting these grids to get a lot bigger, and also next year the participation will be a lot higher from the start.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting to see. You can see Dean Briffer out here for Redback Racing Team Red, trying to get heat into the tyres down the back here. That could be another issue tonight. Could be tyre heat, but let's have a look at the weather and we can go from there. Man, I'm half asleep. I'm hitting the wrong buttons already. Let's bring up the track guide. There we go. So, total turns tonight, 14. Track length is 5 kilometres, so quite long. Of course, we're running the Grand Prix layout here, which is a fantastic layout. Wind speed 13 kilometres an hour. Yeah, the track temp very cold tonight, 21 degrees Celsius. So, they're going to have to watch that, Tim, when they swap tyres during the night here, because some of them might come unstuck.
I think the biggest issue you might have too is when you're actually doing a driver change, you might have a driver that's come out of the pits. He's going to have cold tyres, hasn't been in the car for an hour or two, and he'll jump in and yeah, it'll just might go out a bit quick on the cold tyres and have an issue.
Yeah, well, exactly right, and we'll have to keep an eye on that for sure. Now let's have a look at Class C race results for qualifying here. And that went to Arm Racing, the 340, and they're in the Ford GTE, and then we've got Laser Racing second, only 0.2 of a second behind, and they are in, I think, the Ferrari. So we've got one of each type out there, so it'll be a race for the honours for the marks out there.
Yeah, great to see that we may only have two cars. We've got one of each type, and they're very close, so that's going to be an interesting battle, like I said. I know the Ford carries a little bit more fuel than what the Ferrari does, but I imagine the pit time will be equalised. They'll be able to fill the Ford a little bit quicker. So, like I said, it'll be interesting to see how these cars are set up and how they do over a longer run, if any of the teams are able to double stint tyres, and what strategy they can employ with each vehicle.
Yeah, that's right, and they're really going into unknown territory, I guess, in these cars. It's the first time we've seen them in a long endurance race. That'll be interesting to see how they go over the long period, as well as how long they can run under fuel and that sort of thing.
Yeah, the other thing is too, they did an update there on the weekend as well. The Ford was having trouble with damaging the front end with its front ride height, but iRacing have now fixed that, so that I know in the forums there was a bit of talk about the damage model on the Ford, but that's now all taken care of, so the cars can compete equally now.
Yeah, fantastic, and that's one thing iRacing are very keen to do, is get that parity between the cars correct, so everyone can enjoy the close racing.
Yeah, well, it's something they do in real life too. Is we saw at Le Mans this year with the Porsche was down on the rest of the GTE cars, so they actually had a performance done just for that weekend and took some of the weights out of the car to make them more competitive. So it doesn't matter what series you're in, be it real life or sim racing, they're always aiming to get the cars as close as they can, so everyone's got a fair shot at winning.
Yeah, and I noticed there was a bit of, in real life, a bit of a few incidents with the faster cars running into the slower class cars there. We saw one of the Ferraris get absolutely destroyed going down the back straight, so that happens in real life as well.
Yeah, I guess the only thing I do like about real life, and that is at the Le Mans event, where any contact made between the faster car and the slower car is the faster car's fault. It is their responsibility to get around these slower class cars and make no contact. So hopefully that's something we can see carried into this series, and I think that'll also help with the increased participation levels in the lower classes in a series like this.
Yeah, well, that should be a given, really, because I know it's written into the iRacing rules that faster cars, or any car overtaking, it's their responsibility to do it cleanly. so that should carry across. All the drivers should be aware of that, and shouldn't need to be mentioned, but unfortunately it does, so hopefully it will carry across, being the official rule set, and cars get penalised if they collide with the slower classes.
Yeah, I guess on a track like this too, Bernie, it's not going to be such a big issue. We get to tracks like Bathurst and tracks like that where you've got certain parts of the track that are one line and that's it, so it's very hard to get around. On a track like this, it's quite easy just to wait a second as you go through the corner, and out of every corner you've got a long straight on the other side, so the faster class car can just zoom past there and have no real issue with it. They just got to be patient, and like I said, if they lose a second going around a corner, they just got to be prepared to cop that and then get on with it out the other side.
Yeah, exactly right. And looking at Class B qualifying, we've got 6 qualifiers out there tonight. Selby.com.au Racing GT3, they've got pole position. A 146.274 was the fastest time. Proforce Racing GTI is sitting in second at the moment, 1/100th of a second behind, and then 0.3 of a second behind is Fusion Sim Racing, the 348. And fourth, Fusion Sim Racing 347, so we've got Fusion on the second row of the grid. Tryhards Racing 1 will start out of the third row, and then Lone Wolf Sim Racers will be starting out of 6th.
Yeah, I am looking forward to watching this class. We've only got 6 cars there, Bernie, but the top 4 cars are in 0.4 of a second of each other, so if they can continue that pace across the 10 hours, it's going to be very tight towards the finish, and strategy is going to play a big part. I know with GT3 you can only normally get about an hour on a fuel tank, but around a track like this where you're off throttle so much, I'm expecting to be able to get an hour and 5, an hour and 10 minutes out of a fuel tank, so they may be able to, if they stretch each one, actually save a pit stop during the race somewhere.
Yeah, well, that'll be interesting to see if anyone goes for that option, and because I tell you what, if they can save a pit stop over the 10 hours, that's a massive advantage. I'm not sure what the total entry time is and exit, but I know the pit lane entry here is extremely tight, and it's not very well lit.
The other thing you got to watch on the pit entry here, because it is such a tight entry, it's very easy to get a 15-second stop-go hold penalty here for an unsafe entry, so that's something else we'll have to watch during the pit stop as well, to see if any drivers sort of push their luck coming in and cop one of those penalties, and that'll hurt them big time.
Oh, it certainly will. And you can see at the moment Warren Pickering's out here in the Redback Racing black team, sitting in second at the moment. The fastest time this car has posted is a 1:39.545, and that's qualifying, of course. The fastest time they did in practice was a 1:38.689. They're about 2 seconds off at the moment from the 145, which has posted a 1:37.015.
Yeah, the information I got on my screen, Bernie, is Fusion Sim Racer just put in a 36.8. Redback's done a 37.4, and then you got the TDR car with a 38 flat. So you got just over a second covering those top 3 cars in qualifying trim, but be interested to see how they go in race pace.
Yeah, so it looks like my telemetry is already playing up, but we'll reset it straight after qualifying and make that happen. So we'll bring up the final qualifying shortly, because they'd be due to finish. It's 9:01. I think the race was due to start at 9 a.m.
Checkered flag's out now, Bernie, so within about 2 minutes they'll be ready to go racing.
Fantastic, and then we'll go through the full grid. But at the moment, looking at the qualifying, my overlay seemed to be working anyway. Fusion Sim Racing 145 will start from pole tonight, 1:36.898. Redback Racing Team Black, 0.6 of a second down in second. TDR, the 1:37.1 seconds down, starting on the second row of the grid, and Redback Racing Team Red will join them in fourth. Team VPR will start out of fifth, and LMTI, the 129, out of sixth. The Razorback Racers team, they're going to start out of 7th tonight, and Misfit Motorsport, they will start out of 8th. We'll go through the full grid once they all line up again, folks, so shouldn't take us too long to get through them. We've got 16 cars here tonight.
Yeah, a bit disappointing with the grid size, but like I said, with the overlapping events, that doesn't help either. So, you know, this series will go from strength to strength as it goes along, and I'm looking forward to see what each one of these classes can give us tonight.
Yeah, exactly right. Hopefully they're all going to give us very close racing, and all the classes get to the end. Hopefully we won't see what happened to the Porsches. That was not at Le Mans, that was at Spa. We saw all of them retire. The final car retired after they had no competitors. I think they ran about half race distance, got so far ahead that they decided it was time to park it.
Yeah, certainly hard to keep motivated when you're racing yourself, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly right. But we can see Michael Hammond and Michael Kaluga. They're sitting there in the GT3 cars, and it's gone very quiet out there on the track, of course, and they'll be starting to line up very shortly for the start of this 10-hour.
Yeah, I guess it'd be interesting to see in the first couple of laps. I think these new GTE cars need a little bit of time to warm these tyres up, so it'd be like there's very little between the GTE and the GT3 cars. But just to see if they can pull away at the start.
Yeah, exactly, and see what sort of top-end speed they can bring down that back straight and the front straight. So I'm just getting everything sorted here, folks, and we'll jump to the cars. We can see them down in the back straight there. Craig Edwards flashing his lights. All of them are enjoying flashing their lights, making sure they work, and they could be using them a bit tonight.
I don't think it'll be too bad tonight there, Bernie. Like I said, we've only got 16 cars on track, and, you know, like, the GTE and the GT3 cars are very close in time, so the only ones that are really going to have to deal with traffic tonight is going to be the HPDs, and they're pretty well used to it, so I can't see it being too big a drama.
Yeah, and it's such small fields as well. It'll be pretty straightforward, I think, but it'll be interesting as well to see the sort of pace they get out of these classes, because with so fewer cars on the track, they're going to be getting some pretty good lap times around here. The other thing is very low probability, I'd say, of safety cars around here with big incidents occurring.
It is a pretty good track. There are plenty of walls around it, but you've got plenty of grass in between, so if you don't have too big an incident, you can get back onto the track without occurring any damage. It'll just be if someone lets go and pops a motor, they hit the wall the wrong way. But you generally find on a track like this, even if you do have an incident, you can get it back to pits and get the car out of the way. So I am expecting probably one or two safety cars during the day as we go along, but I wouldn't think it'd be that many. So you really are looking at a 10-hour sprint race here, so strategy is going to play an important part. I think especially after about that 6-hour mark, the last 4 hours, that's where that ability to be able to double stint tyres and save a bit of time with an extra pit stop is really going to play into your hands if you can manage it.
Yeah, definitely will, and got a few cars there, hasn't managed to start. It was one of the HPDs, he's got it away now. But let's have a look at our grid before they go racing. So Selby, not even going to look at our grid because it's all messed up. So you know where they're starting, folks. We've gone through the leaderboard class A, B and C. So we'll be racing very shortly here.
Yeah, it's only a very short third of a lap out lap here, so we're about to come onto the main straight and we'll see how they go.
Yeah, and we'll have Craig Edwards leading away. And I'm just seeing who's starting in the redback car out there. That's Warren Pickering. So we're underway here. The green light for Class A. Craig Edwards takes the lead there. We've got Redback Racing sitting in second position. So a nice clean start there for the HPDs.
Yeah, I'm just back here with the rest of the classes. Looks like everyone's got through turn one quite safely here, and we've already had to change the position in the GTE cars. The Ferrari's got away at the start, so we'll see how we go.
Yeah, that's a Laser Racing entry leading Arm Racing. We've got Paul Mansell out here leading Class C in the Selby. GTI sitting in second at the moment. Ross Rizzo's in that car. Then we've got Alexander Bird, followed by Trent Thomas in the FSR entry.
Yeah, like I said, good to see them all get away cleanly here, and looks like it could be in for a good race. The GT3s, they've started out already. So.
Yeah, so up front here we've got Colin Schweck sitting in third at the moment for TDR Racing. He's in the Redback Racing sandwich at the moment with Dean Briffer behind him and Warren Pickering in front of him. But, I like the shark you got on the side of that car.
Yeah, it works effectively.
Yeah. You need to put teeth on the front of it and a big bite out of the back of it, I reckon.
Generally somewhere during the day the races will take a big bite out of the front of that car for me.
Yeah. And then further back we've got Team VPR HPD, and Geordie Pugh is starting in that car, and then sixth at the moment Matt Zimmerman, and they're for LMTI. Interesting story here with the car in seventh. Misfit Motorsport, they're actually in pink tonight. They had a bet with team, I think it was Team VPR, or it might have been Arm Racing, and whoever lost between those two, they had to dress the car up in pink, and Misfit Motorsport was the one to do it. But I tell you what, they've grabbed the bull by the horns and turned up with a very nice paint job, and it does look very striking.
Yeah, it takes a real man to wear pink properly, so they're doing a good job of it.
Oh, exactly right. And looking at Class B, we've got the Ferrari out in front at the moment from the Ford. Michael Hammond's driving the car at the moment for Laser Racing, and it's a beautifully presented car for sure.
Yeah, that's the other thing that's interesting with the GTE cars. They've got these lights that come on at night. The Ferrari's up above the windows there, you might be able to see it. But on the Ford, it is very striking with the way the lights actually are in the back of the car there near the engine pod. It looks quite effective.
Yeah, and it lights up the drivers, so you can see the drivers really clearly in there. And we'll jump inside the Ferrari now so you can enjoy the sounds of this car. And once I get my camera set working, there we go. And the other thing they've got is they've got the little computerized screen there, which is working, so they can use that as a mirror.
Yeah, they've done the car quite effectively there with the rear view camera there in both the vehicles, and I believe a lot of the lighting comes down to when they do the longer distance racing, is so the transfer between when they're like at Le Mans somewhere where you've got the pit lane and all that is well and truly lit, then they go in the back section where it's dark. It's not as big a transfer on their vision going from full bright to full dark, so they keep those lights on in the car to help the drivers with coping with that.
Okay, that's interesting to know. So yeah, that would make a big difference, wouldn't it, for as far as eye strain goes, and trying to adjust to the light and dark places.
Yeah, well, apparently by having those lights inside the car, when they get out in the darker sections, their eyesight hasn't got to transfer as much between complete dark and complete light, so that's why they have those lights in the car to help the drivers with that effect during the overnight stints in the car.
Yeah, and it looks like they're also carrying yellow lights on the front of those cars.
Yeah, they do seem to be a yellow light compared to the white that the HPDs run.
Yeah, and that would be to bring them in line with real-world standards, I'd say, because I know when we were watching Le Mans, the different class cars had different coloured lights, which, of course, at night time differentiates the faster classes from your competitors.
Yeah, it certainly would be interesting to actually like hop in one of these cars in real life and just see the difference in speed, and trying to manage traffic at night at somewhere like Le Mans. It's such a huge speed difference between the faster and slower class cars, and certainly would keep you occupied.
Yeah, it certainly would, and it doesn't look like at the moment the GT3s are really keeping up with the GTEs. They've got off and they're moving forward. Looking at the times, the GTEs, they're sitting fastest lap 146.147, and then Ross Rizzo set a 147.597 in the Proforce Racing entry, and they've taken the lead now from Selby, and they're starting to get a bit of a gap.
Yeah, I guess all I can put that down to is actually, I think the GT3 cars are down on horsepower compared to the GTE, so putting that full fuel load in there, they're just having a bit more using it, they haven't got quite the amount of horsepower the GTE cars to push that extra weight around. So in race trim, the GTEs are clearing out quite easily.
Yeah, we're just riding in here with Alexander Bird at the moment, Fusion Sim Racing, as he comes around. He's trying to catch the Audi in front of him, and ahead of them, leading the way, of course, is another Mercedes.
Yeah, and it's great to see these boys are all. Oh, he's just had a bit of a look there. He's pulled it up. They're all nice and close, and apart from the leader has pulled out a little bit here, the rest of them are all battling quite hard. And I think by the looks of these Benzes behind the Audi might be trying to get on with it a bit and just can't quite get around him.
Yeah, I'd say you're right there. And he's also got right behind him his teammate Trent Thomas there for Fusion Sim Racing. So that is both of them running in tandem. Of course, running two cars so close, the advantage is you can make sure you're running in a little pocket of safety. The disadvantage, I guess, is if they come together, the team could be in big trouble.
Yeah, I mean, in a situation like this, if you're a team manager, if one car seems to be a bit quicker than the other one, you let the other one around to have a shot at the Audi. So, but they seem to be managing this quite well, and they're sticking together there, and I think they're quite happy at this stage just to follow the car in front, just see what the day brings for them.
Yeah, definitely, and at the moment the Selby car there is looking very nicely presented, as it always does. They're running that beautiful paint scheme, and looks like the Audi, I don't think it's struggling. It seems to be holding the Mercedes behind them, but it'll be interesting during the day to get a top-end speed of both cars and get a bit of a comparison. I'd expect the big V8 of that Mercedes to allow it to really get out of the corners and set some pretty, probably faster times down the straight.
Yeah, I haven't driven the GT3 cars in probably about 3 months. I had a quick go on the Benz yesterday. It seems not as planted in the rear end as it used to be, so I guess that's where the Audi's probably making the most of it on this track. The Benz will have better mid-corner speed, but the Audi's able to get that power down as soon as it gets on exit a bit easier than what the Benz was, and that's where it's able to hold that bit of advantage. Yeah,
I haven't driven these cars for quite a while. My preference out of the two was always the Audi, because it felt smaller. I don't like driving these really big wide cars. They just they make me feel a little bit unsettled trying to work out where the wheels are on the cars.
Yeah, that's probably the hardest thing with iRacing is when I think yesterday I was in 3 different cars and I was mucking around with a few other boys on here, and you got to get used to the width of the car and where to put the tyres and the vision out of the front, and every car's slightly different, so you hop out of one car into another and all of a sudden you're throwing tyres out onto the grass and things like that. So it does take a bit to get used to the width of each car and the wheel track and where you need to place it.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I guess if you drive it a lot, then you get used to that pretty quickly. It's having a look back here, Trent Thomas at the moment sitting behind his teammate in the 348, and he seems pretty happy to sit there at the moment. And this could be, he might just be sitting in the draft trying to save that fuel, as you said earlier, Tim, to try to manage to skip a pit stop over the course of this 10-hour event.
Yeah, definitely. And we just had Colin Sweck up in the HPDs try and make a move for second, but unfortunately he was on the outside, so now he's got to make up the gap again and have another crack at him.
Yeah, and of course TD Racing, they'll want to get that car up as far as they can, like all of them. And I tell you what, that entry, you could almost say that it's the opposite to the Redback Racing entry there.
Yeah, no, like I said, we chucked the RRTV sponsorship on there for you, Bernie. We had no other sponsor to run, and it's quite a nice paint job, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I appreciate all the support any teams give RRTV. A lot of them are carrying our logos there, and I really are appreciative of TDR to be covering that car in our logo.
No, like I said, we appreciate all you've done for the iRacing community, Bernie, and there's nothing to whack that logo on that car, and it's come up quite good, so yeah, it suits it nicely.
Yeah, it certainly does, and we can see from the static camera as the cars go through there, and Might jump back to that view because that was quite a nice view. Of course, the cameraman now, he's shifted from roadside and decided he's going to jump right up on the hill. He's probably got a bit scared by all the headlights coming towards him.
Yeah, I don't think I'll be hanging around there too long.
No, I wouldn't be, especially at night time. But, having a look at the top 5 in each class, folks, at the moment, Fusion Sim Racing is leading the way in Class A in the 145. They've got a gap of 4.7 seconds over Redback Racing Team Black, and then right behind them is TD Racing, and starting to close in again in third. Dean Briffa for Redback Racing Team Red is having a battle with Team VPR here, and that's your top 5 in Class A.
Yeah, the leader in Class A sort of cleared out, but he's got that clean air and he's making the most of it, whereas I know last lap there, the second and third place are having a bit of a dive at each other, so it's just costing them time and allowing the leader just to disappear a bit. We see Coles now closing back up on him again to try and have another look at him.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how they go with making moves here, and whether they can pick their brake markers. I know, as we can see here, Twin Ring Motegi does a great job for night racing because they pretty much illuminate a lot of the brake marker signs there.
Yeah, this is one of the better tracks for night racing, even from a spectator point of view. The track's still pretty well lit most of the way around, so you can easily identify the cars and the drivers and have a really good look at what's going on, and it's great for the cameras and the broadcast too. You're not really losing the cars in the dark.
No, if anything, I think they look better under lights because you pick up all the reflections and really can make some of these cars pop.
Yeah, you get the right paint job on them. They certainly do look very effective under the lights.
Yeah, and I've noticed there now Collins dropped back again from Warren. So it's interesting. It looks like they've got different strengths and weaknesses depending where they are on the circuit. We'll see if he closes in again. No doubt he will, because that TD racing car looks well set up, as does the Redback car, but it just looks a little bit quicker at the moment.
Yeah, Cole just had a little bit of a wobble coming out of one of the corners, which cost him a little bit of time. So they're both on the limit here, pushing for it, and we'll see how they go.
Yeah, and we can see here Redback Racing Team Red diving to the inside there to try to break the draft from VPR. So the tricks are starting. They're trying to maximise that advantage they can and minimise any advantage they give to their teammate back there, or not their teammate, their competitor.
Yeah, these are, because they're such a high downforce car, the draft does make it different to these, same as the GTE cars. So we've got a car off the track here.
Yeah, that's the Redback
Racing.
We'll jump back to the replay there, folks, and that was Warren Pickering having a bit of a moment. We'll see what's happened to him.
Yeah, he's just lost the rear end under brakes. I said they were pushing pretty hard, and yes, round she went on him, unfortunately. No contact, which is good to be able to get straight back on the track and get into it again. Yeah,
and we'll just get that replay up now. Of course, I've jumped quite a ways back, about 40 seconds back here, to make sure we catch it. And as you said, Tim, you're saying it was interesting. He got that wheel up there on the ripple strip, and when he applied the brakes hard, it just spun the car.
Yeah, very easy to do on these things. Of course, they don't have ABS, and it comes down to your setup. I mean, the more you can run that brake bias back, the better turning you'll get. And I did say they were pushing pretty hard the last couple of laps there, and it's just unfortunately just caught him out a bit, but he'll push on and no doubt make it up.
Yeah, and having a look back here at Class B, and I tell you what, I like these cars under lights. Everything's lit up like they should be, the race number and yellow lights, and just a beautiful looking car here. So we've got at the moment the Laser Racing entry leading, and then right behind him in second, well, not right behind him, the gap is now 4 seconds, is the Ford GTE.
It is quite interesting. The Ford just doesn't seem to have the race pace that the Ferrari has, but maybe that'll swap around later in the stint too. So, yeah, like I said, it'll be interesting to see how these guys. I've only ever driven them in shorter racing. I actually haven't done a race in them at all, just in practice. So, it'll be interesting to see how they go over the distance. From what I've heard from one report I had, is the Ford does chew its tyres up a little bit quicker than the Ferrari. So that could explain why the Ferrari's still pulling away.
Yeah, and as you said earlier in the broadcast, the Ferraris are a friendlier car, I guess, to drive than the Ford is at the moment.
Oh, I guess it's not more friendly. It just seems like when you're in the Ferrari, I guess with the equipment I've got, I get more feel out of the steering and the inputs in it. The Ford just, like as I said, when you're in the car, you just don't seem as busy, even though you're still pushing it along. It's not as twitchy. It is a little bit better under brakes than what the Ferrari is, surprisingly. But yeah, from a driver point of view, the Ferrari just suits me a little bit better.
Yeah, and the lap times between them isn't as a Ford gets a bit twitchy there. Once again, getting a wheel up there on the ripple strip. 0.2 of a second is separating the two guys here. 146.613 to the Ferrari compared to 146.881 to the Ford GTE.
Yeah, so maybe later in the stint the Ferrari's tyres will go right off and the Fords might hang in a bit. We'll just have to wait and see. It could come down to your setup too. The Ford might have been just using its tyres up more.
Yeah, well that's right, and we'll see how that goes as well. Of course, the track's very cool out there tonight, 21 degrees Celsius, so they're not going to have a problem with overheating their tyres too much here tonight, but it's just going to be whether or not, as you said, which car chews the tyres more, and we'll keep an eye on that, folks, because like the drivers here, we're all in pretty much uncharted territory in this class. But I tell you what, Tim, it's great to see iRacing bringing these two here and to the service. I think it was a little bit of a surprise to a few people out there when they announced these cars.
Yeah, Ferrari certainly was a surprise. We know they've had the Ford GT on the service before in different forms, so the Ferrari was a big surprise, and I am really hoping that with their contacts with the Corvette and Porsche they've got now, that we can get a Corvette, a Porsche and an Aston Martin GTE. That'll be really good to see.
Yeah, it would be. I know with the Aston Martin they were talking, like I've got the yeah, I'm having an old man moment here. Yeah, we've got the Aston Martin in GT3, haven't we?
It's a GT1 car that we've got at the moment.
Okay. So, but they did say, I think at one point they were going to bring a GT3 out, didn't they?
Originally when they launched the car they were, but it never actually happened, and I'm not sure why. So we'll just have to wait and see. We've now got the HPDs, of course, now trying to get through all the GT3 cars. They've already caught up to them already, so they're all battling through now.
Yeah, we can see our race leader there, Craig Edwards, going past Selby, and they seem, as we'd expect, to get through pretty easily here. There's quite a bit of a gap between the GT3s now, and that's going to make it easier to facilitate passes.
Yeah, and we've now got a battle between the 348 Fusion Sim Racing and Lone Wolf Sim Racing here between the Audi and the Merc, which is starting to really fire up.
And we can see, we'll get back to that in a moment. We just saw Craig Edwards going really wide there around Ross Rizzo, and he's running second in class. But let's get back to the 348. Yeah, it's getting pretty busy back here.
Yeah, they're trying to battle each other. They've got HPDs all around them, so quite exciting. He's getting really close under brakes now. As you can see, he's just pushed a bit deep there. We'll see how he goes.
Yeah, 323 on the inside, 348 on the outside drag race. As I thought, the Mercedes uses its big V8 engine there just to pull it out of the corners, and the Audi has to sit back in the tow. That could get a little bit frustrating, but I guess these cars have strengths and weaknesses throughout the track. It's just a matter of which car's better suited.
Yeah, it seems like the Audi's a little bit better under brakes. Every time they go into a corner, he seems to be able to make the gap up. But yeah, just like you said, once he unleashes the power on that Merc, it just seems to be able to hold him off. Yeah,
again, we see the Audi looking on the inside. Great under brakes, but very slow out of the corner, I guess, compared to the Mercedes. And we can see that as we look at the rear end camera here of Alexander Bird. back to Lone Wolf Racing.
They're actually doing quite a good job here. They're racing very heavy. Here we go. He's going to have a look down here under brakes to see how he goes. Looks like he'll get this done. Yeah, beautiful move there. Yeah,
well executed, wasn't it? And they've got the LMTI HPD behind him, and because these guys are racing so hard, he's there's contact, and around goes the Audi.
Might have been a bit of net code on that on my screen. There wasn't a lot in it, but he's actually going to wait and redress it, so maybe it was actually closer than we thought. So he is slowing down to wait for the Audi to catch back up.
Yeah, we'll have a look at that on super slow-mo and try to work this out. It looked, as we're having a look now, trying to get a better view on it, I think there wasn't a lot of contact. You might be right with netcode, and it just took the Audi around. And let's see if he keeps it off the wall. He pretty much does, which is another good thing about twin ring Motegi. They do have a good runoff here.
Yeah, like I said, you can have an incident around here without too much damage. If it'll be a big incident where it lets go. Probably the only one I could really think of around here will be as you come onto the start-finish straight out of that little hairpin. But he does seem to have some steering damage on the other side, so it is interesting to see.
Yeah, we'll see if he brings that car in, but if he needs to, we'll also jump in and have a look if it's steering straight. Doesn't look like it's that much affected here. Yeah, slightly right hand down, but nothing to really worry about.
It does just seem to be moving around a bit, so maybe he might be better off coming here, doing an early pit stop and getting that sorted out, but he's going to continue on and see how he goes.
Yeah, I guess, he'd be reporting back to the team here. They'd be asking what the car's like and trying to sort out whether it does need to come in or not. It'd be they could also be trying to just keep it out there so they keep within that pit window.
Yeah, like I said, it's a lot of strategy management in a race like this. I'm not expecting him. I reckon we'll probably get 1 or 2 safety cars maximum, and so you've really got a 10-hour sprint race ahead of you. With it's going to come down to your second, and if you've got a third driver, their speed as well. So I know when I've done a few races in this series, it is hard to try and balance the team out with speed. Like I know with the team we had, I was pretty good in the portion in traffic. I was able to get through traffic and manage that without losing very little time, but a couple of the other blokes I was racing with, they're very much used to one race series, and they were really struggling in traffic, and they were losing 4 seconds a lap. So it comes down to a big team effort in a race like this, and each member of the crew has to be as efficient as the first one to try and really manage that traffic and try and keep that speed going all day, which is not an easy thing, and it's something you've really got to want to do and practice that to learn how not to lose time in traffic and drive these cars successfully in a race like this.
Yeah, well, it all comes down to consistency at the end, doesn't it? And we just had reports that the Selby Audi has come together with someone and has quite a bit of side end damage and trying to get... so basically the team's reported back for us. Basically one of the HPs lost it under brakes at the end of the back straight there and ran into the side of that Audi, and it's quite scratched up down on the right hand side of that vehicle.
Yeah, very disappointing for those boys. They're trying as hard as they can, like I said, and it's just racing sometimes. You're just in the wrong place at the wrong time, and I know the other team didn't mean or anything, and it just puts a dent in your day, but we know how good the Selby crew are, and they'll fight their way back into this race for sure. Yeah,
I like that dent in your day. Well done.
Well, got to have a good racing analogy somewhere.
Yeah, it certainly does. I was during the Lamar, I was writing down all the sayings they had, and I had to look up a few, like the face like a robber's dog. I thought, why's a robber's dog got a face like that? I have no idea.
Yeah, I have no idea about that one either.
You can see there one of the Ferrari getting well out of the way there of Colin Schweck in TD Racing, and he jumped out of his way pretty quickly, and of course he's got the Redback Racing Warren Pickering behind him, and once again he steps aside and he lets the HPD go, or does he? I tell you what, there's not a lot of difference between the HPD and the Ferrari once the Ferrari winds itself up.
Yeah, it's like I said, the Ferrari and the Ford are quite quick in a straight line. They've got plenty of horsepower there, so yeah, the biggest thing that limits the car, of course, you haven't got the ABS. It's I found with the Ferrari and the Ford, it's very easy to pinch a brake or just push the car that fraction too hard, and you'll lose 0.3, 0.4 of a second just for a slight mistake like that. But when you nail it, they're quite a quick car. They're quite fun to drive.
Yeah, and of course I won't get to drive this car for quite a while unless I can find someone that will let me use their sim rig, because yeah, I've sold all mine up, folks, and trying to save up for a house at the moment.
Yeah, this day and age it's like trying to buy gold bricks.
Certainly is. It's getting crazy. I saw they're expecting house prices to increase over the coming year by 16%. That's in Canberra.
Oh, righto, well there you go. They're expecting a big boom down there. I thought it'd be too cold for anything to move down there this time of year.
Oh, it is if you get these weak Queenslanders coming down that don't even know what cold is. But, you know, us locals, we actually embrace the cold. It's quite invigorating.
Yeah, I know. 10 degrees up here is freezing and -2 down there is still warm.
Yeah, and we can see there Dean Briffer flashing his lights as he goes past the Ford GTE racing there, tucks in behind him. He had to actually check up there because I thought he was going to run up into the back of him.
Yeah, well, I think Michael here in the Laser Racing car is doing quite a good job. He's got a pretty good lead over arm racing behind him, so he's not taking any chances in traffic. He's letting the cars go so he can keep his car nice and clean, and he knows he's got plenty of gap to play with, so he doesn't have to really push too hard here to do anything. So he's just making sure he does everything right and gets towards, you know, got a nice straight car for the end of the race.
Yeah, it's all about managing that gap now, isn't it? And because we're not going to expect too many safety cars here tonight, that gap is definitely going to pay off as this race progresses. And of course, folks, we'll be broadcasting this morning, and like always we'll be back late this afternoon to cover the closing stages of this race.
Yeah, I think with the amount of cars we've got on the track today, we're going to have all these cars still running later on today, barring any major mishaps. But as we've seen, the racing early here's been quite good, and everyone's managed it. We've only had that one real incident that I can see with the HPD, and it wasn't really, there was more a racing incident than anything else. He's just gone down underneath and tried to get around and lost the rear end, and unfortunately Selby, as it seems to be their habit in this series, they just seem to be the wrong place at the wrong time. It must be frustrating for them sometimes. I've seen it happen on probably 2 or 3 occasions this year.
Yeah, I guess though, you know, being racing drivers, they'd be used to that sort of frustration, but it looks like Fusion Sim Racing at the moment are off like a stabbed rat, and they've got a gap of 9.9 seconds.
Yeah, I did see that the TDR car and the second the Redback Black car were catching them a bit in traffic. It was down to about 6 seconds, but since they got back into a clean air again, they've just absolutely disappeared. So that Fusion Sim Racing car is definitely on the pace today, and you know, I think they've got about a second a lap race pace over any of the other competitors today. So I see as the day going on, the big battle being between Redback Black and the TDR car for the second spot on the podium.
Yeah, because they're a lot closer, aren't they? Looking at their lap times last time through, they managed to, the TD racing car was 0.5 of a second quicker than the Redback Racing Black, but there's not a lot separating these two.
No, and I have been watching them a bit, especially with the Redback Black car, and that they seem to be a little bit twitchy, and every now and then you'll see them, as we've seen earlier with Warren there under brakes where it went around. You'll see him come into a corner, the back end of the car wobble around, so, and both cars are doing it, so it comes down to which lap that happened on how quick your lap time was. But I think on a good clean lap they're pretty evenly matched here in race pace, and it's going to be a great battle for the 10 hours between these two drivers. Yeah,
I reckon it will be, and it'll be great for these teams to have that battle as well. It'll make the day go quicker. Yeah, last time by, we've got an update here. It was 0.2 of a second Oh no, it wasn't. It was, yeah, 0.2 of a second separating the 137 from the 102, and then another 0.2 of a second in time separating Arm Racing here, or Team VPR, sorry. So these three are very closely matched. They're not separated that much on the track, so we could end up having a three-way battle here.
Oh, definitely. The next time through the traffic, you know, one car's only got to get balked on a corner, and you know, all of a sudden they're all concertina and back nose to tail. So, like I said, interesting battle for the day. It's going to come down to managing pit stop strategies, how you get through traffic, and keeping these cars clean. And I'm expecting these probably even the Redback team red car, I don't think that's far behind them on pace either. So, it'll be an interesting battle between those four cars for the whole day.
Yeah, it definitely will be. We've got 9 hours, 28 minutes of this race to go. They've done 18 laps here. No safety car for those who have just joined us. One of the viewers contacted us and asked why the numbers are so low. The only guess we've got, folks, is V8 Scops is on later on today, and we think a lot of the teams will be focusing all their energy on that because that's their premier event, and that's the only explanation I've got why we've got such a low turnout, but that's probably what it is.
The other thing is interesting too, Bernie, even after Selby having that contact, they're actually not that far behind the Pro Force Racing boys again. So I reckon there's only 2 or 3 seconds in it, so they've made up a heap of ground there. Maybe Pro Force had an incident somewhere along the line as well.
Yeah, I'll have a look at our telemetry here and see. I can't see. Yeah, there was an off-track in lap 11 by Ross Rizzo, but nothing since then at all. So I think it could be just raw speed. If we have a look at their lap times, well, last lap time, what have they got? 148.031 to the 385 and 148.010 to the 314 behind them.
Yeah, and the quickest lap time was a 147.8 by Trent Thomas in the third car. So looks like he's going to be slowly coming through and trying to catch up to these boys.
Yeah, well, he'd probably be running a similar setup. Oh, well, ignore that, folks. I'm still half asleep. I thought Fusion Sim Racing was leading. Or are they leading? I'm trying to work it out.
Oh, you got Pro Force Racing's leading, followed by Selby, then the 2 Fusion cars. But like the 3 lead GT3 cars are all on the same straight at the moment, so there's not a lot in it. And you know, it's going to come down to their setup in the last half an hour of the stint, and who's going to be game enough to double stint tyres and save that 17-18 seconds in the first pit stop.
Yeah, well, that's going to be the strategy, isn't it? And today, especially with the low number of cars. But I tell you what, there was a very close call there between Misfit Motorsport and the Ford GT3 Arm Racing entry there. Rory had to jink that car, I guess, across to the left to avoid any contact.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. Like, when you're in these lower class cars, you've got to make your intent clear very early. I found that's the best way to do it. If you've got one of these quicker class cars coming up behind you, sort of coming up towards the corner, you make your intent very clear very early. Yes, you're going to let them through, or no, you're not. And that way then they've got time to adjust and react as well. And I guess that's what I said earlier about multi-class racing. People just think it's going out and lapping. It's not. You have to be able to manage your traffic, and the better guys can do that. They can telegraph what they're going to do, when they're going to do it, and let the competitors around know just by the body language of the car what's on and what's not. And if you can do that, you will become successful in a category like this.
Oh, exactly right. And some people new to the sport may wonder about body language, but it's really true. It's consistent lines, and that allows the drivers behind them to know exactly what you're doing just by looking at the car and by how it's entering, exiting the corners. And if you're predictable, they'll also know the line you're taking, and they can get past you.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's like anything. You've got to be able to use that car to show the car coming up behind you where you're going to go and what you're going to do. Yes, I'm going to let you go, and no, I'm not. And you've got to be able to telegraph that through the vehicle to send the message to the car behind you what's on and what's not. And like I said, that's where the success comes from in this racing, and that's how you keep your car clean for 10 hours, is just by being able to sit, like I said, through the body language of the car, be able to tell the cars around you what you're doing and when you're doing it, and then being able to read what you're up to and make it easy for everybody.
Yeah, exactly right. And there's going to be a little competition today, folks, and that is, can you spot the Le Mans quotes that I put out over this broadcast today? Give you a bit of a hint. We've had 2 already.
Oh, the best quote I've heard for the week is, what's the difference between a Ford driver and a porcupine, Bernie?
Oh God, I can imagine if has it got something to do with the quills and what they do?
Yeah, the pricks are on the outside of a porcupine.
I was expecting to say they're both pricks.
Oh, I'm not that bad.
Yeah, no worries.
I still have respect for a car.
Oh, okay. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I know we had Brenton O'Brien in the booth the other day, and I don't think he's got much respect for the car.
Oh, yeah, poor old Brent. It was great to see how far his team's come, though. And like, I've only been on iRacing 3 years, and to see the way the team he's put together and how well they're doing now, it's a great credit to Brenton and all the guys that work with him.
Oh, it certainly is. That's the, that team. We seem to forget they've been together for 3 years, but they've gone from nothing to being one of the, probably the most professional team for Australia. They're now running on the world stage. A lot of their drivers are pro drivers now. They put a lot of energy into developing them, and they're really showing what can be done in iRacing if that's what you want to do.
Oh yeah, no, I've been pretty lucky. I've known Brenton a fair while, and a couple of our drivers, we actually approached Brenton about them going to them, and I think Riley's now one of the pro drivers within their team. And I know when they first started down the road to getting into the world thing, I spent a day or 2 with them with setups and that as well. So it's just great to see they've grabbed the ball and run with it with both hands, and they've just gone from strength to strength. And it's amazing to see the development and the passion within that team still strong after so long.
Yeah, exactly right. And if any of the viewers know when that team was formed, let us know, because I'm sort of guessing here. I think it would be about 3 years since they started, could be longer. But yeah, not only are they present themselves professionally both on and off the track. A lot of the drivers, they are scripted to make sure they mention all their sponsors when they come up for interviews. And in regards to that, they've got some pretty big sponsors on board, and Logitech would be their biggest one, but they're backed by about 7 different businesses at the moment, and which of course allows them to get better gear and do better on the track.
Yeah, it is good to see. Like, you got teams like TTR and ANZ Motorsports. I know Element are also a team in the Australian community with drivers like John Peasnick that are coming through. So on the Australian side of things, as far as the world stage go, we've got some great drivers, and we've got some great teams that are coming together to help really forge that Australian element into the iRacing community worldwide. Yeah,
it's absolutely fantastic to see, and I'll have to tune into some of the world broadcasts, and of course the viewers out there, if you want to catch up with them, of course RaceSpot TV is normally they are the official iRacing broadcaster, I guess, that covers all those really high-end events.
Yeah, and back on track here, we've got the Redback teams now closing back in on the 137 cars, down to a second again now, so it looks like that battle will be heading right back up very shortly.
Yeah, definitely looks that way, and looking further down, of course now, it gets a bit difficult to know the gaps in the lower classes because my telemetry doesn't give me the gaps between class cars. I might have to look at bringing that in. But looking at Class B at the moment, Michael Hammond continues to lead that in the laser racing entry, and having a guess, it's a very large gap at the moment, probably half the circuit, so something's happened there to Justin Alderton.
Yeah, I saw him before in traffic. He was having a bit of trouble getting around a couple of cars there. So, yeah, it's just one of those things, managing that gap. And like I said, and he's gone around now as we speak. I dare say those Ford tyres are, as I predicted, they're not lasting as well as what the Ferrari ones are. So, might be something iRacing have to have a look at, but he does seem to be struggling with the handling of that car now. Could be in the setup too, of course, but yeah, it doesn't seem as planned as what the Ferrari did, and it's not as planned as it was earlier, that's for sure.
Yeah, we're just having a look at the replay here to see what's happened earlier on. I would suggest it's another spin, and you're definitely right. I'd say the tyres are going off that car, and it's something iRacing will probably be looking at, no doubt. Tell you what, folks, what do you think of the sound of the Ford GTE? I'll crank it up so you can actually tell us what you think. It sounds to me like a blowfly.
Yeah, it's sort of like sitting next to a model aeroplane club when you hear it from the outside. It's not too bad on the inside, but from outside the car, it's not the best sound in the world, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's yeah, I'm just being a bit quiet so the viewers can hear it. Yeah, it sounds like it's missing a cylinder or something.
Well, there's a Ford, Bernie, that is quite possible.
Oh, come on. Are you a Holden person as well?
No, I just like giving it to Ford people, it's fun.
Of course, you know I'm a Ford person, so that's probably half the reason.
Oh, yeah, they bite well, it's always good. It's like fishing.
Yeah, of course. So look at that Class C, folks. Proforce Racing continues to lead and doing a great job there. They always do in this series. It's also great to see these guys. They're getting more and more competitive in the V8 supercar as well. Well, they're very, very competitive in that class. And as we saw at Bathurst on Friday night for the final round of the Australian Online Supercar Championship, this car was up there having a fairly good run for the early part of the event. Yeah, so they're talking about a bit about Evolution Racing Team, and they were saying Tim Jackson and Luke Betts were among the original members when they were called ERA. Then Brenton came in to manage that team. So they think it's around about 3.5 to 4 years since that team was formed. So that's a fantastic effort, isn't it? In that time to go from nothing, not a team, bootstrapping it and getting it all the way up to where it is today.
Yeah, I know. I remember when I first started, just over 3 years ago on iRacing, I used to race a bit with Tim Jackson, boys like that, and they're a great bunch of people, you know. They're all top blokes, and like I said, Brenton's come on board and really taken that professionalism, and I think he's been the driving force behind getting to where they are. And if there's ever a quick driver that's new to iRacing that comes in, you generally find within 3 months they're a member of the ERA team, or ERT I think they're called now. So, you know, not only have they developed the talent they've got, they're always on the lookout for more and developing that talent. So they're not a team that goes out and pinches big name drivers or anything like that. They're a team that develops their own, and you know, it's great to see them actually take on board young guys and help them develop to that stage.
Yeah, it certainly is, and it also gives those drivers that show promise a career path, so to speak, where they can go from a lower end team and try themselves at the world stage eventually. I know what ERT does. They've got like similar to a Young Lions team where they bring those new drivers in and they can develop them, and if they show promise they can start progressing them towards the A grade teams at that stage. But we've got Nathan in the combox with us at the moment, folks, from selby.com.au. Welcome, Nathan. Just having a look at your car. It's a little bit scarred, but apart from that, how's it performing?
Yeah, g'day Bernie, g'day Tim, hello viewers. Yeah, the car's going okay. Got a bit of a scratch from a HPD. I think you locked up behind us before, but hasn't really seemed to have affected the speed at all. So yeah, still going okay.
Yeah, and we were talking earlier about the differences between the Mercedes and the Audi, but we'll ask you about how the Audi fares on this circuit compared to the Mercedes.
Yeah, well, it looks like it's a lot better this track than Le Mans, that's for sure. So I think we seem to be the fastest Audi at Le Mans, but we still seem to be miles off the 80s pace there. So admittedly we didn't do a lot of setup work, and maybe we didn't have the best set for it, but in practice you tend to get a feeling for whether or not the car's handling well and going to be quick. And when we first put the car on the track here at Motegi, we had a pretty good balance and it felt pretty good. So I think you've seen that in our race pace so far and our quali pace. I think we're in with a good chance today if we can keep it clean.
Yeah, definitely, because Ross Rizzo's not that far ahead of you guys, and you've got a bit of a gap back to Trent Thomas, so you're definitely competitive out there. You're keeping the race leader in sight, which is really good, and you're definitely looking for a good result here.
Yeah, just keeping a steady pace and looking after tyres at the moment. There's a bit more pace in the car than we're showing at the moment, but we're just not pushing overly hard. We just want to keep it clean, and Ross is probably doing the same. I think everyone here is going to be trying to make sure they look after tyres and drive a safe race, especially for the first half or so. And like your list of sayings, Bernie, you just want to buy a ticket to the last hour. So that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, exactly right, and that's the secret, isn't it? Having a consistent, clean race, so you've got a car at the end there to race for that finish. And the other question I had for you, Nathan, while you're up here is tyres and tyre wear. I know we've got a very cool track here tonight. Is that going to make it friendlier for the tyres around here?
It should, yeah. We've experimented with some different tyre pressures and settings over the past couple of days. We haven't done a lot of testing, but we think we know what sort of strategy we'll run today. It'll be interesting to see what some of the other teams do, but in all honesty, I'd expect a few teams to be double standing tyres here. I don't think you're going to lose that much time. I think a tyre change for the GT3s takes 24 seconds from memory, something like that. So you'd have to be at least a second or lap slower, really, for that strategy not to work. But yeah, look, it really depends on how you drive the car and how much wear you put on them in the first stint.
Yeah, so we'll keep an eye out for that, folks, about double stinting there. And Nathan, have you driven one of the GTE cars? And if so, what do you think of it?
Yeah, I drove both of them. Jason and I are driving in the IMSA series on Sunday nights, and yeah, we've been driving the Ferrari. That was our pick. We just felt it suited our driving style a little bit better, and sort of fortunate because then we heard that there was some damage bug with the Ford, but in the right hands, the Ford's quick. They both seem very competitive cars, but I think the Ferrari, I love the idea of its fuel maps. You can actually save quite a lot of fuel just on map 2, so be interested to see if guys start using those sort of fuel maps to do some economy runs.
Yeah, and is there a huge difference in lap times between map 1 and map 2?
Yeah, it wasn't that much actually, but I think we did a bit of testing at Daytona last week. We tried fuel map 3, and our lap times were maybe half a second to a second slower, but it saves something in the region of 5% of fuel usage. That's without adjusting your driving style. So it's pretty aggressive actually, the fuel saving you can get out of it. So I think for longer endurance races like this series, it could be quite good. And we were tempted to look at changing to the GTE class, but in the end we just decided we'd still run GT3.
Yeah, that was my next question, was if we'd see the Selby team running a GTE car, and I guess you've answered that for the foreseeable future. It looks like you guys will stick with GT3, which is quite understandable because you're extremely competitive in this class.
Haven't shown it so far this year, but we'd like to think we can do all right. But yeah, the reason we didn't go with GTE was we just didn't know how big that class was going to be, and we just want competition. So to have 5 or 6 GT3 cars in here is good. It means we've made the right choice for the moment, and I hope a few other teams look at GTE.
Yeah, well, it's
language there.
Yeah, it's a cruel cycle though, isn't it? Because if teams don't go to the class because there's not enough cars in it, it means that class is never going to grow, and if anything will probably die like the Porsche did, and we don't want to see that for the GTEs, that's for sure.
Yeah, but ideally, for a series like this where we saw great numbers of entries last year when it was run as a slightly different series name, but yeah, we really love to see more teams in this. I think we love the endurance racing. It's what we focus most of our effort on. So it'd be good to have more competitors, and I'm sure Tim would feel the same.
Oh yeah, definitely. Just had the 323 car come and stuck it into the wall there, burning, but he was limping it back to the pits.
Okay, how long ago was that, Tim?
About half a lap ago, roughly. He's managed to get it going. He's on his way back to the pits now, but he's having trouble steering it.
Okay, I'm trying to pick it up. And
Darren McKenzie, the 323 Audi.
yeah, I think I might have it here. He had one of the Mercedes breathing down his neck there, and oh yeah, and he lost it on the exit, and you get that, what do you call it? I call it like motorbike throwing you over the handlebars there.
Yeah, the high side or the tank slapper.
Yeah, that's one. That's the one. Did you have any questions there for Nathan?
Oh yeah, Nathan. Just with the Audi, it seems to be really closing in on brakes compared to the Mercedes-Benz I've noticed around here. Have you noticed that too?
Yeah, the braking hasn't been too bad. A lot of it depends on your camber, your caster, and your ABS settings, and how you use the brake pedal. A bit surprised with that actually. We usually see the Mercedes been quite good under brakes in the last couple of months. Not aware that iRacing's made any tweaks to the braking of the Audi, but we just put it down to our set. It just feels like quite a stable set in change of direction and braking, and seem to have dialed in a nice little balance for it. So haven't really looked at the other GT3 Audis to see how they're going, but it sounds like you're implying their braking performance has been pretty good.
Yeah, I just noticed from the last time I drove it, it didn't seem that good under brakes, but this build here, it seems to be quite effective under brakes there. It could be, like you said, just running less camber and getting more contact patch under braking too.
Yeah, you're just getting the right brake bias, and like even just watching some of the Mercedes here, the Audis and the Mercedes seem to be taking some different lines around this track as well. So obviously each car's got different dynamics and has strengths and weaknesses in different areas, but it's the different lines that some guys are taking into a few corners.
Oh yeah, definitely, and it must have been a pretty close call whether you stayed at GT3 or went GTE like you said. How are you finding the new GTE cars to drive? I'm finding with my gear that I've got that they're a little bit, you get a bit more feel through the steering wheels and a bit more understanding of what the car's doing compared to the GT3s.
Yeah, look, I can speak from the Ferrari point of view because that's what we've been driving, but yeah, they're great fun to drive. They feel great, the time model works really well. I think you mentioned before it can be easy to pinch a brake, but get the setup right and the brake balance right, it's pretty easy to move actually between the GT3 and the GTE because the braking points are really similar. But yeah, really enjoyable cars to drive. I like them.
Yeah, I struggle a bit. I've been running around the Porsche for the last 3 months, and yeah, massive difference in brake pressure and brake action when you apply the brakes. So it's a bit of a task coming from a Porsche Carrera Cup car to one of the GT or GT3 cars.
Yeah, the GTEs sort of brake. They feel like they brake somewhere between a car with ABS and Porsche or the V8. They've got pretty good brake performance, all things considered.
Yeah, definitely. We've seen the first of the pit stop there start too, burning the HPD class. Have had Redback black team of the first to blink, so I expect the two lead cars, the Fusion and the 137, to be in very shortly.
Yeah, they've been running for 55 minutes now, so they can be expected. Looking at their the pit times at the moment, the fastest pit was LMTI. They're still sitting in there, so that doesn't count. But they're refueling. The fastest would be 29.2 at the moment, Team VPR, but around about 29 to 30 seconds is the standard. A few are a bit slower, like 34.5 to LMTI, and 47.3 is the slowest, and that's Razorback races.
Well, we'd assume Razorback have definitely taken tyres, and we've got TDR in the pits now, so it'll be interesting to see. If it's under 30 seconds, you'll say it's just fuel. Anything over that, they're taking tyres as well.
Okay, and what happens if they're 30.8 seconds?
The pit crew needs sacking.
Yeah, fair enough. Do you agree with that, Nathan? Tim's on the angry pills today, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't think I'm going to take sides.
Yeah, he's already had a crack at me, but then again, I'd expect that from, what are you, a Holden fan?
BMW fan, actually, but yeah.
Jeez. Champagne tastes, mate.
You're on a beer budget, too.
See what I've got to put up here with, Nathan?
It's terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah, well, we should let you get back to it, Nathan. We're going to see you driving a bit later, as we see your car now coming in. Maybe we'll keep you here and see if you've got to sack your pit crew.
Let's hope they get out and do a good job. It's not going to be a very long pit stop for us, so Paul's going to stay in the car at this point, and I might hop in a bit later.
So you've just confirmed you're double stitting the tyres there, which is what I was next going to ask you.
Well, we thought we will get it out of the way now and see what the speed's like. At least we'll know early how we're going to play the rest of the race.
Just on that strategy issue, like it's looking like we're not going to have a safety car today. How are you going to go with the fuel? I reckon you'd probably get about an hour and 5 minutes out of a tank of fuel around here if you didn't have to worry about the safety car coming out and went the full tank. Would that be about right?
Oh, look, I think we're probably scratching to get to an hour with the Audi. So even if there were no safety cars, we'd have an extra short stop somewhere near the end of the race, assuming no accidents and so on. We'd still expect there probably will be a safety car at some point. History says in this series there will be at least one. So someone will manage to bring one out, I'm sure. So yeah, look, we're just at the moment treating it as a pace race. You know, we just need to keep the pace up and keep the car clean. We're not thinking too much about strategy yet.
Righto then, yeah. It's going to be a hard one today. Like I said, I think the chance for a safety car coming out is there, but the way it's looking, like even if someone does have it in, so they seem to be able to get the car home, so it could turn into a 10-hour sprint race, and you'd hate to be in the position where you've sort of counted on one and you're too far back to do anything at the end.
Yeah, that's right. Even if we assumed there was no safety car, it'd be tough to do enough fuel saving for the whole race to make sure we didn't have an extra pit. So given these long races, as you know, Tim, you never know what's going to happen. Something always does happen. So just keep pushing on and keep seeing if we can set some consistent times and keep an eye on our car here for the next few laps and see what the lap times are like and see if we can triple stint the tyres.
Yeah, well, you've done a great job so far, and just hope there's no more wrong place, wrong time for you today and don't get caught up in any incidents.
Yeah, hopefully. As long as they're not our fault, we'll be happy.
We're race drivers, we're never happy.
Yeah, fantastic. Anyway, Nathan, we should let you go because we're going to cut to our sponsors' advertisements in a moment. But before we do you want to give a shout out to your sponsors?
Yeah, look, I'll just say g'day to the team and a shout out to Sean from selby.com.au. Obviously, Sean puts a lot of effort into supporting the series and providing some funding for broadcasts and naming rights and that sort of thing. And so, yeah, really appreciate that Sean's made that commitment to this series and ones before it, and hopefully continues to show that commitment to iRacing. We really appreciate it. And as a team and everyone here, I know we really appreciate you putting in the effort too, Bernie. So it's just great to have these things broadcast and allows all of us to get our sponsors out there a little bit and see ourselves on YouTube telly. It's great.
Yeah, and it's also the good thing about it is with YouTube is they're up there forever, really. So unlike TV where they sort of you've got to wait for the DVDs to come out.
Yeah, and I had a catch up with a couple of iRacing guys about a week ago with regards to some potential esports events for sim racing, and I know that one of the topics was coverage and broadcasting, and this sort of thing really helps get those sorts of initiatives off the ground when it proves that there's a lot of interest out there. So yeah, thanks again for everything that you guys do.
Yeah, no worries. It's always been a dream of mine. It probably will never happen, but a dream to actually broadcast one of those official events. And as I said, probably never happen, but you've got to reach for the stars to catch a cloud or whatever they say.
Got to have a crack, otherwise you'll never know. So yeah, thanks, Bernie. Alright, see you guys later.
Yeah, see you, Nathan. Anyway, folks, we're going to cut to a quick commercial break so we can have our pit stop, and when we come back in a couple of minutes, we'll take you through the full standings so you can see how each team's faring. And until then, folks, we're getting a coffee. You should go and do the same, and we'll see you very shortly.
Selby Acoustics is one of Australia's largest online retailers of home theatre and hi-fi accessories. Our website and showrooms in Hallam and Geelong offer over 2,000 quality products and the best prices guaranteed for all your audio and video needs. Our reputation for outstanding customer service and expert advice has been built over years of providing great value and after-sales support. With hundreds of products shipped from our Melbourne warehouse daily, our team understands your passion for all things audio and video.
Hi there folks, welcome back, and as we could see at the moment, Craig Edwards in the 145 are still leading the way. While we're at commercial break, they did make their pit stop. 31.3 seconds was their stop compared to TD Racing. They did a 29.4 second stop. So Tim, it looks like a few teams going for the double stint.
Well, from what I can see, all the top 4 cars in the HPD class have double stinted their tyres here. So what you will find, though, is with the low chance of safety car, like normally an event like this, you've got to try and leave about 3 laps of fuel in your car to manage those laps under safety car. But from what I can figure out, Fusion Sim Racing decided to gamble there a bit, and they've run their tank right out, which is why their pit stop was a little bit longer, but they've managed to get a couple of more laps out of their tank of fuel. So I see in the also during the break that the GTE cars have pitted, and both those cars have taken tyres. So I guess that sort of says where we're at with the GTE cars and their tyre wear. Seems to be a lot more severe compared to the other classes.
Yeah, well, I'd expect that from the Ford, that's for sure, because we saw that car struggling. But yeah, that's going to be interesting, isn't it, to see the differences and exactly where these cars are weak. And it does look like the tyres is one of those areas for enduros. Well, I wouldn't say weak, probably greedier on their tyres. That could be because they've got no ABS or any other driver's assists on those cars.
I guess it could be too. They've got more horsepower than GT3 cars as well, so they are going to be using those tyres up a bit more. I guess in the situation we had there, Arm Racing had no choice with the way the car was handling. They had to put tyres on it. I think Laser Racing would have realised that, and they've just, whether they needed to or not, they've taken tyres as well. They had plenty of air to do it. They had more than half a lap of space, so there was no reason not to from a strategy point of view. But we've just had the leader in GT3 pit, and they're probably about 3 seconds, coming out 3 seconds ahead of the Selby boys who pitted earlier. So again, in that class, they've got a case where the leader of that class has actually gone longer than what the second place car has. So, you know, if they can continue doing that all day, they're probably going to, you know, that last splash and dash that Nathan was talking about earlier could save them up to 10 seconds in a pit stop there.
Oh, definitely. And that 10 seconds over the space of a 10 hour, if they're stopping every hour, let's say, that's about 1.5 minute advantage.
Oh yeah, definitely. So you know, like I said, a lot of the teams here, or a few of the teams, are risking it by running their tanks right out. So if a safety car comes out, as we know, you're not allowed to pit under a safety car condition until pit lane's open. So if they're stuck out there and they run out of fuel, you know, they've got to get towed back. Then they've got to do a stop-gate penalty for pitting under the pit lane close rule. So they are risking it, but I guess given the amount of cars on track and the chance of a safety car, they feel they can risk. It's not a bigger gamble as would be on some other tracks, and a couple of teams have taken advantage of that.
Yeah, and the slower temperatures would also, or lower temperatures, not slower, would also help in that regard.
Oh yeah, definitely. And like I said, it's going to be a strategy game today. I mean, the longer this race goes on, everyone seems to be driving quite carefully. There doesn't seem to be too many problems as far as that goes. We've now got a big battle here for second place in Class A. Redback's having a look at TDR now.
Yeah, that's Warren Pickering back on the inside, a well-executed move there, and takes that position from TD Racing. But I tell you what, Colin's not going to lay down nicely, is he? He's going to want to have a crack back at Warren here.
Oh yeah, the corner before, Collins actually come out and just touched the grass, and the car's got a bit of a wobble up, which allowed Warren to get the run on him. So we're into that period now where this is where we're going to see how the setups and how much work they put into the setups are going to work, because you're double stinning the tyres now, so you've got to have that setup right to get the longevity out of the tyres. And it looks like Redback here, with the speed they've got, double stinning have actually probably got that a bit ahead of the TDR boys, and they're making the most of it.
Yeah, they're starting to pull away there. We're having a look at the top end speed of the TD Racing car. We'll actually stay with him and do that once we got in the main straight, because I wasn't looking at the telemetry. But I'm still waking up here. Sunday morning, it's criminal, as we were saying earlier, being up at this hour of the morning. But, well, it was earlier. Having a look here, 250, around about 250 kilometres an hour was their top end speed. We'll do the same for the Redback car when we come down. Maybe it is set up, they're just pulling away out of the corners here. Yeah,
like, we're getting into that second stint now, and as you can see, the Redback car just doesn't look quite as twitchy as what the TDR car does at the moment, and that's just, you know, Colin's having trouble hitting apexes and that here as well. So all that means is you're able to carry a bit more speed in the corner. That's going to give you a bit more top end speed at the end of the straight, because you've carried more speed onto the straight, and yeah, that's how it goes. And you know, this is where putting the effort in and the setup work beforehand really pays off.
Oh yeah, for all these enduros, it definitely pays off. I know the Redback boys, they do spend a heck of a lot of time before these events practicing all their drivers, getting the setup, because of course with the setup, it's not only getting the car handling, they've also got to match the drivers to that setup, don't they? And quite often they've got to compromise on it so that all the drivers can actually lap quite comfortably and consistently.
Yeah, well that is why I probably like this endurance racing more than the sprint races. You got to work as a team. You got to have two drivers minimum in this class, and You know, you've got to have two drivers that are like-minded, and they've got to enjoy the same setup. There's no point having one quick driver who enjoys a really loose setup if the second driver's going to struggle to drive it quickly. So, you know, you've got to have a team mentality. You've got to get that car set up to go quick, but it's got to be able to go to quick in the hands of both drivers, and they've both got to be able to drive it. And, you know, I know in the year and a half I've been doing this, I have found that's the biggest key is, like, I prefer my car one way to be able to get the most out of it, and then the next driver says, well, I can't drive that, so then you've got to tune the car back to try and get to a point where they can. And it's a fine balance between trying to get the speed out of it, and then, of course, you then got to be able to then say, right, we've got the car at a certain point, now we've got to be able to get the tyres to last. So then you've got to start playing with cameras and different things again to try and get that tyre wear, pressures, and, of course, there again, it mightn't be as good for one driver as the other. And then, of course, the other big thing is brake bias. Some people can... I know when I was running the Porsche, I liked my brake bias at about 44, whereas the other drivers in the team used to run it at about 48 to 49. And what that does is put more pressure on the front tyres under braking, which then affects your turn-in and your front tyre wear. So you've got to take all these things into account and try and find the right balance. It's never easy.
No, it's not. And as you're saying, it's a real balancing act as well, as we're looking at the gearbox outside gearbox cam here. With Michael Hammond, as you can see, he's stepping aside and he's allowing the Colin Schweck to go through. If anything, he actually lifted to help facilitate that pass. We've got a GT3 car, two of them off, one in the wall, so we'll have to jump back and have a look at that.
It's Darren McKenzie and Alexander Bird. This might be a bit of a square up for what happened earlier on, I think.
Yeah, so jumping back to this replay here, you can see it all came unstuck the next corner down the end of the back straight here. Saw Alex jinking a bit. We've got, who's that? That's oh, what are they doing?
Well, we will have a safety car here. That's, yeah, that's definitely, and he's backed into him again. That's just not on. That's definitely not on. Yeah, I won't say more than that.
No, that's disgraceful, isn't it? Oh, come on. Yeah. Okay. Well, definitely not on. I think race control needs to look at that and have a chat with Mr. McKenzie over the that incident.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be doing much talking. It might be more of a case of there's the door, son.
Could be. It's I've seen that a few times. Not very often, fortunately, folks, and we're under safety car here. Just having a look who that other car was. It was Alexander Bird that was affected.
Yeah, they were running quite well in fourth place, so to do that, yeah, it's... anyway, we'll leave that. I won't say too much about that.
Yeah, I just want to find out what brought that on.
Comes down to the earlier incident. From what I heard over the comms, that Darren McKenzie, when he's lost control the first time and gone into the wall, what I heard over the comms is he sort of was a bit blaming the other car for that, where there was no contact and no need to, and he sort of let that carry on a bit too long. So, yeah, just didn't let it go, unfortunately.
So that was the earlier incident we saw with, it looked like netcode. That's sort of... they've squared up again once they've come together.
Yeah, sort of. He hadn't let that incident go and sort of decided he'd do his own adjudication on it. So yeah, the earlier incident wasn't actually netcode. As Darren's turned into the corner, he's actually ridden the curb a bit hard, and he put the inside wheel on the rear actually over the ripple strip, which unsettled the car, and that's why he went off. But from what I heard over the comms, there might have been a bit leading up to that as far as blocking or something goes. I'm not real sure, so yeah, we'll leave that go and we'll let that race control handle that situation, but definitely not what you want to see.
Definitely not, and you can see now, folks, the safety car is out, and because of that incident we've just experienced. But while we're under safety car, let's go through each class so you can see where your favourite team is standing at the moment. So in Class A, that's being led by Fusion Sim Racing. They had a gap of 22.8 seconds over Redback Racing Team Black, and then in third was TD Racing. They actually dropped, trying to get a gap here, 13 seconds since that move was made a couple of laps ago. Then in fourth, Team VPR was 3 seconds behind them. Fifth team, Redback Racing Team Red, and followed by LMTI. We've actually had Misfit Motorsport go down a lap in 7th, and rounding out your field of Class A, Razorback Racers was also down a lap, sitting in 8th. Looking at Class B as they stood, Proforce Racing GTI 385 was leading, 3.4 seconds back was Selby.com.au Racing GT3, as I said, second. Fusion Sim Racing 347, they were, that time doesn't look right, in third anyway. Fourth, Tryhards Racing 1 lap down, and then we've got Fusion Sim Racing 348, 3 laps down, and it looks like Lone Wolf Sim Racers have retired from today's event. Looking at the GTE class, I have to gather my thoughts here. The 212 Laser Racing was leading by 18.4 seconds over Arm Racing in the 340 and in second. So at the moment, Ferrari and Laser Racing have won over, well, haven't won over, they've got one over Arm Racing and the Ford GTE.
Yeah, they're going to be pretty much nose to tail here at the start, but given what we've seen from that Ferrari so far, I dare say they'll open that gap up quite comfortably again, and it'll be interesting to see how the battle between the top 3 shake out now, but I'm expecting the 145 car to be able to comfortably pull away again here at the start and leave the other 2 battling away like they've been so far for the race.
Yeah, I'd say you'll be right there. It'll be interesting now that, though, when they're so close together. And while we're under safety car, a bit more about this this pink livery we were mentioning earlier, and as we were saying, that was a bet between Misfit Motorsports and Team VPR, and of course I was saying the person or the team that lost or finished last between those two had to have pink skin, and they were saying that Misfit lost that bet, and Team VPR got to paint the car, but then they've decided to turn this into a charity event, and they're promoting breast cancer awareness, which is a great cause for them to promote, that's for sure, and that's why that car's so beautifully presented. And if you look on the front, it's got the breast cancer awareness pink ribbon.
It's good to see, Bernie. You've had a challenge between the teams, so they're making more exciting for themselves, and then to be able to go and turn into a charity event and promote a good cause like that, it's just great to see that we have that mentality within our community, and it's all good-natured fun, and and I think it's worked out quite well, and the car actually looks fantastic, so it's great to see.
It certainly does, as we see one of the Redback boys taking out all the cones, having his own little fun there, and a bit of the cameraman's getting a bit artistic here with his shots.
He might have been on the cones himself by the sounds of it there, Bernie.
Not at RRTV, that's for sure. We're professional in all things.
I don't believe that. You got me up here for a start.
Well, we enjoy a bit of banter, so it's good for the viewers. God, I'm bad today. I should go back to bed.
Yes, it certainly was nice and comfy in there, that's for sure.
Yeah, we'll see the field going through. See, I didn't even touch that one. I just let that one go. So it's great to see all the cars so beautifully presented here, and all having a pretty good race so far, barring a few incidents.
The boys are actually doing a very good job out there, so it's great to see them actually, I know how long it takes to paint one of these cars properly. I've tried to do it myself, and hours of work go into preparing these paint jobs that you see on screen, and it's just great to see that so many people have put so much effort into their e-sport that they love doing so much, and that it translates to the way they present these cars on track each and every broadcast.
Exactly right, and this e-sport is growing, as Nathan was saying earlier, some blokes are looking at esport events and no doubt looking at getting that broadcast, which would be fantastic. But we've seen this grow so quickly, haven't we, over the last couple of years, and it's continuing to grow. My dream is always to get this into mainstream where the public can see it, because I know a lot of people don't understand what we do, but when they do see it, they're quite amazed by what they're experiencing.
Yeah, well, I did see a press release from V8 Supercars. They're actually looking at investing at 2 or 3 million into actually sim racing and having a sim racing platform that goes with their real life events. So it'd be interesting to see what comes from that, whether they're going to partner with someone like iRacing to do that, or whether they're going to go down their own track. So it'd be great to see that there is that interest in the e-sport, and especially from the real life community.
Oh, exactly right. From what I understand, they've actually formed a partnership with Microsoft for the Xbox console, and also I think they're looking at Sony for their GT Academy type representation. So once again, V8 Supercars looking like they're turning their back on iRacing. I know previously they've actually gone a step backwards, because when I got into this sport 5 years ago, V8 Supercars were actually tied with iRacing, and they actually had an official iRacing championship, and they published all the results on the V8 Supercar website. But then, of course, money talks, and that partnership sort of fell over.
Yeah, I guess the big thing the V8 Supercars have got to look at too is this year especially the participation and interest level from the actual community has dropped right off in their sport. I know their viewing numbers are down and the numbers at the track are down, so I guess they're trying to look at some way to try and get more people back involved. V8s are very much an Australian thing, whereas GT3, GTE and all these other classes are driven all around the world. So it's quite an amazing thing to see what each sport is doing as far as their real life interest, to try and get more interest from people who have a passion for motorsport, and anyone who does something like iRacing does have a passion for their sport. So I guess they're trying to tie in with people like that. And we've actually seen here that the second and third and fourth place cars in the HPD have actually pitted under this safety car again and taken fresh rubber and topped their tanks up, whereas the leader has stayed out. So here's the strategy starting to play now, Bernie.
Yeah, and the GTE guys also took tyres. Also the leader of GTR's in Fusion Sim Racing are coming out again, and I've noticed the 348 that was involved in that previous incident. Where are they? I think they're still sitting in the pits getting that car serviced. They're 5 laps down. They were running about 4th in class, so anyway, we won't go back there. But yeah, getting back to the V8 Supercars and the falling in numbers, I have a feeling that could have a lot to do with pay TV and their decision to put the majority of their events on pay TV, and I think that doesn't sit very well with a lot of the fans. Australia's not one to normally have to pay for their viewing of events that should be free, but we won't go into there. There's my political statement for today, folks. You still with us, Tim?
I still got you, Bernie.
Okay. I just didn't get any comment.
As quick as it is.
Yeah, I think your microphone's playing up, mate.
A minute.
Sounds like you're on a CB radio and you're getting out of range. Are you driving that truck again today? Yeah, so we've lost Tim at the moment. He'll no doubt be looking at that. A few technical difficulties once again. Of course, for the viewers that tuned in on Friday night, we did have an interesting technical issue at RRTV. I apologise for that, but we did get back on air as soon as we could to cover the end of that race. And if you haven't seen the broadcast, it was a cracking race and well worth watching. It was the V8 Supercars final round, Mount Panorama, and it was a retro round, and a lot of those cars were beautifully presented. So I go to RRTV, check it out. So safety car lights are out here at Twin Ring Motegi. We'll be going racing very shortly. They've done 46 laps here and 8 hours and 34 minutes remaining in this race. So looking at who will be leading the cars off the line, we've got Warren Pickering for Redback Racing. He will be leading Team VPR, which is the 166. Geordie Pugh is still in that car at the moment. Then Dean Briffer for Redback Racing will be coming in third, followed by Craig Edwards for Fusion Sim Racing sitting back there in fourth position. Then TD Racing round out your top 5 in Class A. Safety car is in. Once again, we're back racing here at Twin Ring Motegi, and Warren gets a jump over the field. As we can see them going through once again, the drivers are going to have to be a bit cautious here because we've got the classes mixed up. And as we've seen before, under safety cars, it generally can get a little bit messy on these restarts. See Michael Hammond there, the leader of the GTE class, one of the GT3 cars getting out of the way, and that was one of the tryhards entries there, and just stepping aside, letting all the faster cars through. And we can also see the leader, Ross Rizzo of GT3 class, has got a good start. So looking where GT3 sits, we've got the 385 leading. Then we've got Trent Thomas for 347 in the Fusion Sim Racing entry, sitting in second, and they're around about 3 seconds down. Then we've got Selby Racing, the 314, and Nathan Hapatz is in that car now. We spoke to Nathan earlier tonight, and he's decided to jump in under safety car to give that car a bit of a run. And then we have in second for GTE the 340, and it looks like it's a little bit off pace there, so maybe it's had a bit of a coming together. Go back and see if we can find out what's happened to the Ford. Yeah, he's had a bit of an incident here. We'll jump back and we'll have a look at what's happened, and had to see where he's come off here. So he's got the LMTI on the outside, and yeah, there was a big incident there between LMTI and Arm Racing, and just trying to see if we can get a better picture of what's happened there. It looks like he's actually hit the wall, and quite a big incident there, Tim. So it looks like we've still got technical issues here with Tim Ballinger with his microphone. Hopefully we'll get that sorted soon. But out front we've got Redback Racing Team Black leading over Team VPR. Riding now with Geordie Pugh in Team VPR, and just get a bit of a telemetry. We'll get a top end speed here for the HPD. We'll do the same for a GTE and a GT3, so you guys can get a bit of an idea of the differences. So it looks like around about 264 Ks Team VPR set down that back end of the circuit. Now we're on with the GT3 Proforce Racing, and we'll see what sort of top end speed he gets. Yeah, around about 245 Ks an hour, and about 20 Ks an hour slower in top end speed than the HPD, which is expected. We can see the Ferrari ahead of him, and we'll get a top end speed of that car next time through. Yeah, a bit of an update. The 323 was actually disqualified after that incident we unfortunately witnessed earlier on today, which is, from what I've seen, is probably a good thing that they were showing the door, and because we don't want to see that sort of behaviour in these series, especially when they are broadcast to the public. So we'll jump on board here with Michael Hammond now and get a top end speed. Oh, as we can see him coming up on the back of the Fusion Sim Racing entry, flashing his lights, and a bit of patience here. And I thought I saw a hand out the window, but I must be hallucinating. Okay, we can see again, as we spoke earlier, the lights inside the cockpit here, which of course helps the driver's eyes adjust to the brightness of the track at night time. As we now come down to the top end speed here, what's our guess? 260 to the HPD and 247 to the GTE compared to 245 to the GT3. We see them coming across the start-finish line once more. LMTI going past the GTE on the inside. 50 laps down here, folks. 8 hours 27 minutes of this race to go. We've got quite a small field here tonight at Twin Ring Motegi. 15 starters, or 16 starters we had. We're down to 15 with one DNF at the moment. Can only guess the reason for the low numbers is probably because a lot of the teams are focusing on the V8 Scops race, which will be going ahead this evening. You can catch all the action for V8 Scops, of course, on V8's Online, and I'm not sure what time they go to air, but if you like your V8 Supercar action, of course tune in for that. Of course, put them up, come back and tune in to us as well, and watch them side by side. That's what I reckon you should do. So Tim Bellinger still has issues with his microphone, technical issues, so it's only me up in the booth at the moment, and I'll carry on as long as you guys are willing to listen to my dulcet tones here, and if it gets too boring I'll start playing some country music for you folks. Riding on roof cam here with Ross Rizzo, and he's trying to chase down at the moment. Well, actually he's leading, so he's putting a lap down, I'd say, on Alexander Bird. Yes, he is. So at this stage of the racing, folks, we may be calling this early today. We were planning to stay on air till 12 o'clock. We will probably go till about 11 and come back for the closing hours of this race at around about 4 p.m. this afternoon to cover the end of this race. But of course, you can see what time we'll be coming back on air. We've got it all scheduled. You can go in there, set a reminder, and you'll be reminded when we come back on air, so you can catch all the action of this closing stages of the race this afternoon. Of course, this race is due to finish about 7 p.m. this evening. So folks, have you picked up on the two sayings out there from Lamar that I've already used today? And if you have, put it in the comments. I bet you can't guess it. Quite a bit of action back here in Class A. We've got VPR, Geordie Pugh driving that car at the moment, just ahead of Dean Briffer in the 101. Then we've got Craig Edwards sitting in fourth at the moment in the 145. We know Fusion Sim Racing, they have the pace. They were leading earlier, and at the moment Warren Pickering's leading. 4.1 seconds is the gap, and he's continuing on. As this battle rages between these three, we've also got LMTI in 6th and Colin Schweck sitting just behind this group in 4th. As we see now, Dean Briffer looking on the inside of Geordie. Geordie's getting a bit of room, very close there. Wow, what was that? It looked like he had hit the turbo button on that car. He took off, or Dean redressed something, but he all of a sudden dropped back. In fact, he may be having some sort of technical issue here with that car, because it just didn't get off the line very well. So riding here with Fusion Sim Racing, Craig Edwards behind the wheel, and coming up on Team VPR, and no doubt he'll be trying to get past Team VPR pretty quickly, because that gap now 4.8 seconds from second to first. As we can see now, Craig Edwards showing the nose, thinks twice of it. He'll probably try to get a really good run out of here, getting the slipstream, and we could possibly see a move at the end of this straight, although he just doesn't seem to have got off the line. Coming on the inside, probably defending from Dean Briffer, that is no doubt right behind him. So we can see, looking at the from the gearbox cam, so come across the line now to tick off another lap here at Twin Ring Motegi, the fastest lap at the moment. We'll have a look at that. That looks like it's gone to the 145 Fusion Sim Racing. They were leading earlier today. 138.244 was the fastest lap there, compared to Redback Racing, red I think it is, could be black, 138.387, and that's our current class leader. Looking at how many laps each team has led in Class A, Craig Edwards driving for Fusion Sim Racing. They've been leading this race for 45 minutes, 45 laps, compared to Redback Racing Team Black, which have been leading for 9, and they've been leading pretty much since the restart. And I would say the reason for that is Fusion Sim Racing pitted, where I think Redback Racing Team Black opted to stay out. And the other cars that pitted under yellow was TDR, Team TD Racing. They also elected to stop, and so did LMTI and the nice pink entry of Misfit Motorsport. This battle continues. We can see Dean Briffer. Where are we? Things are going all crazy on me here. One moment. Yeah, Dean Briffer having another look as Geordie goes through. Craig Edwards now looking. We'll see how Dean gets off the corner here, because it looked like he had put it in slow motion the way he got off previously. But the car's looking better now. We can see the Arm Racing GTE getting out of the way of the TD Racing in the background there. So if anyone's interested in joining this series, you can find all the information on the iRacing forum under the road racing thread, and look up Selby Endurance Sports Car Championship. I'm sure you'd be most welcome to join us. If you're new to this esport and you're not sure what you're seeing, you're actually watching racing here on the iRacing.com service. You can go to iRacing.com to get more information on that. You can get a free trial from what I understand, and it's quite affordable, around about $13 a month Australian, and you can join up and have a go. You get some free cars, free tracks. Then of course you start in rookies, you work your way up to this level. There's racing where you can race anyone in the world in the official races, or you can join leagues like this where you can race people from Australia or anywhere in the world. Now a lot of these guys, they use quite special equipment. They have full-on racing rigs and steering wheels, pedals, which can range from anywhere from a couple of $100 up to thousands of dollars to get them set up just like a real race driver. And they have button boxes and all sorts of things. Of course, like the real world, you can use the telemetry, and I think they have the McLaren telemetry they can use. Moteg's definitely on board. They can use those and work out everything about what their car's doing, and then they can tweak the setups as well. See there, Dean's having a bit of trouble there with his tyres, I'd say. He's trying to double stint them, and the way that car spun up under acceleration, I'd say his tyres are starting to feel the pressure, so to speak. As far as looking at what's going on at the moment, as far as penalties go, there was a protest issued for barging earlier in lap 12 against Redback Racing Team Red, and that protest was dismissed. We've also had Lone Wolf 323 originally had a communication breach on lap 32. We saw them coming together with Fusion Sim Racing earlier, which caused Lone Wolf Racing to spin, and I think they hit the wall. And then of course the 323 was disqualified for careless driving. They're also under investigation for that, for reckless driving, for that later incident where we saw them take out Fusion Sim Racing, the 348, which of course they're still circulating the 348, but they are a lap down. They were running fourth in class at that point. See now, Team VPR having a look under brakes and pretty much nearly loops that car. Good catch, because normally when they get that sideways, we'll see them do a 180. But well done to Geordie there and how he held on to that car. So we've got 9 minutes of this broadcast this morning, folks. I hope you're enjoying it all out there. We've got a good quality, well, we've got a number of viewers watching us, which is always pleasing. As we were saying, folks, we had 16 cars start today, 15. If we look at our leaderboards at the moment in Class A, Redback Racing Team Black is leading by 1.9 seconds. It did get out as far as 4.8, but Fusion Sim Racing, they're on the move to pull Redback Racing back in, and they've already pulled 3 seconds in on that team. TD Racing, the 137, sitting in third. Redback Racing Team Red, fourth. Fifth, Team VPR. Then we have LMTI in sixth. 1 lap down, we have Razorback Racers in 7th, and Misfit Motorsports are sitting in 8th. Looking at Class B, Proforce Racing GTI's leading that class by 1.3 seconds over Fusion Sim Racing, the 347. Third at the moment, 5.9 seconds down, is Selby.com.au. Then we have Tryhards Racing 1 lap down in class, and Fusion Sim Racing 2 laps down in class. And then, of course, Lone Wolf Races are no longer running. Class C, which is your GTE class, we've got Arm Racing. No, we don't. We've got 212 Laser Racing sitting in first position in class. Arm Racing 340. They've gone down a lap, and we saw them having that incident where they had to get that car repaired. And Race Control, well done to Race Control. They're sitting in third at the moment, and no doubt looking at trying to take out this class. For those new to endurance racing here, we have 3 classes. We've got Class A, the LMP class, Class B, the GT3 class, and Class C is the GTE class. Now, if you look at the driver card that we have up, the position in yellow, that's our outright position, and then in blue you have the class position. So as you can see here, Trent Thomas for Fusion Sim Racing, second in class, 11th outright at this stage. Another little bit of a statistic here for you folks. The last car on the lead lap is LMTI, and they're in 6th position. Looking further down, the leader of GTE, they are 3 laps down from the leader, and the leader for GT3, they are 4 laps down from the leader. Let's jump on board with Ross Rizzo now and crank up the sound, folks. Enjoy a lap around Twin Ring Motegi in the Mercedes, and listen to the beautiful sounds of this big V8. So folks, that was a lap around Twin Ring Motegi with our GT3 leader, and Ross Rizzo is still in that car. He's been in that car since the start of this race, and that means he's been running now for close to 2 hours, double stinting. No doubt the next pit stops will be coming up in the next 20 minutes, and he may be jumping out. Although some of these teams, they do like their drivers going deep. It reduces the risk, as the other part of the risk, of course, is cold tyres here. 21 degrees Twin Ring Motegi tonight, and the risk is on cold tyres. These cars may have, the drivers may have some trouble getting not only temperature in, but also the handling of these cars on cold tyres is not a very good thing. One of the viewers said that's a funny sounding Audi. Did I say Audi? I thought I said Mercedes, but you never know. It's been up pretty early today for a Sunday, although it's getting on 11 AM. I don't normally sleep well. Yes, I do. I won't lie. So this is the Audi. So that's probably sounding more like what you'd be used to, the screaming of that car. It's quite a different sound compared to the big V8, but it's a nice sound all the same. Alright folks, thanks for joining me this morning. It's coming to 11 AM. That's our coverage for this morning. We will be back this afternoon, 4 PM, possibly 5, but check out the RRTV YouTube page, and you can get the full coverage from there this afternoon, and I look forward to your company then. But until then folks, I hope you have a great Sunday afternoon. If you're racing, best of luck. If you're not, enjoy your relaxation with your family or friends or whatever you do on a Sunday. But until this afternoon folks, I'm Bernie Wiemers, and I'd like to thank Tim Ballinger, who was joining me this morning until he had technical issues, but we will catch you again this afternoon. We should have Daniel Leet in the combox with me this afternoon, so he always me and him always seem to have something to talk about, so it'll be great coverage all the same. Until then folks, have a great afternoon, and we'll catch you very shortly.